And welcome back to another episode on Across the Board. It is a beautiful day today,
It is.
and it's college baseball season.
It's been.
It's been a great tournament regional so far. Really excited for super regionals, especially Troy and Little Rock at that. But today, we're going to give you our picks and predictions. If you haven't already seen our previous video, we recapped regionals and kind of gave some insight on the super regionals. But today, we're going to give our picks, do a little breakdown, and yeah, so I say we're going to hop right into it. We'll start with our first matchup of the day. We'll have Cal Poly and West Virginia. That's going to start at 12 p.m. Eastern time. I tell you what, this is going to be a fun matchup. I think it's going to be very interesting. I'm excited to see really the pitching duel we'll have with Max Hugh and Turnquist in game one. I think this could be a really low scoring series, depending if this goes to 2 or who sweeps it, or, we go to game 3. This series, it's really interesting because I really do. I mean, obviously West Virginia I think is the better team, but we saw what Cal Poly did, and yes, they didn't have to play UCLA, but they're also an interesting team with the fact that they only gave up what I said 3 runs or 3 or 5 runs that entire weekend. So I think they're an interesting group to look at. And you look at West Virginia with the pop and the bats, and we know what Cal Poly can do. But I think these teams are quite evenly matched. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, kind of. I think the only thing West Virginia. I think West Virginia has a few factors maybe above them. I think they are just the better team, but they're also playing in Morgantown, which I think will make quite a big difference. I think that will be a deciding factor, especially if it goes to 3 games. But I don't know. I think West Virginia, had to win 4 games in a row, and they did it. And they're hot. Cal Poly's been sitting for a little longer than them. Maybe that makes a difference. But also, obviously you said the pitching duel is going to be quite insane. They're both got really good pitchers, and both of their obviously starters for bullpens as well. It might be a low scoring affair, but also I could totally see this turning into an absolute bomb fest. Yeah, and making it high scoring. I think these teams can both score at any rate that they need to when they're on. And we saw with Cal Poly, obviously, they waxed St. Mary's one. Yeah. So, I mean, both these teams can score. So I wouldn't be surprised if this does turn into a high scoring affair, just as much as it could be a low scoring affair. Should we give our picks, though?
I think you're going to give our picks.
Right.
Do you want me to start?
Yeah.
I'm going to take West Virginia. Honestly, I'm going to take them in 3. But I guess we'll just say if I give them 2 or 3, I'm going to take them in 3.
Yeah.
West Virginia is the better team, but I think matchup-wise, I think Cal Poly can match them in the areas that they need to match up in. I think it's just West Virginia is just the better team than this. They're just better, though. I think pitching-wise, I think Cal Poly matches them well. They can hit well, but I just think West Virginia is a little bit better in that area. But I think this does go to 3. But a big factor, really the big deciding factor, Morgantown's going to be rocking in this game. So I will take West Virginia, and I think this will go to 3, though.
Yeah. I think it easily could go to 3, and I'd love to see it go to 3 because I'd love to see how Morgantown reacts in a deciding game, especially a super regional. But I'm going to take West Virginia in 2. I think they just Cal Poly, I think it's close. It's not like they blow them out, but I think it's easier for West Virginia than you think.
That's fair. Very fair play. All right, let's go to the next one. Next regional. We got Oklahoma and Kansas. They are in Lawrence with Kansas hosting. Another fun regional. A regional we definitely did not expect to see, I would say. But honestly, a Big 12 rivalry renewed, and I think this will be a lot of fun. I expect a lot of hits, a lot of bats rolling, a lot of bombs. This will be pretty fun. Also, a little side note, we're just going through all the games in order from like 1 to 16, 2 to 15. So these teams do start on Friday, but we're just going to go in order from 1 to 16, 2 to 15, and work our way back in. But I mean, you look at these two teams, they've got firepower in the bats. I mean, Kansas, Tyson LeBlanc, big hitter for that team, batting 344 on the year. He's a really big piece to that lineup. And just this team, they hit well. I mean, they're very solid at the plate. Along with Oklahoma, we saw their firepower in their bats this weekend. I expect a lot of hits. I think I'm interested to see which. Really, I think the bigger question is which rotation and which pitching group will win the duel. I'd say a duel because, I mean, which one can perform better? I think this kind of sits on which pitching group can show up. We saw Oklahoma pitching show up late in their last two games they played Georgia Tech. I think that this could go either way, though, between these two. I mean, we've seen both teams.
Yeah.
We've seen how explosive they can be with their bats. We've also seen at times what they can do with their pitching when it's on.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a very interesting series.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, we didn't expect Oklahoma to be here,
No.
and they are. So I can't really like put anything past them of what they can do. And then Kansas is just, I mean, first time hosting a Super. I mean, they have been great. Their offense was amazing. Their pitching was good, but it could be better. And like you said, I think it does depend on who comes out for Oklahoma and Kansas pitching wise. Just like who is better. Because yeah, we did see Oklahoma's bullpen be good down the stretch against Georgia Tech, but we've also seen that their starters can give up some runs. So it would be really interesting to see because Kansas can jump on you real quick if your pitching is bad. They do have the bats to do that. And so if Oklahoma does want this to be a low-scoring affair, then they're going to have to make sure that either they get in the lead or their starters are wrong because Kansas can very quickly turn this thing into the game they want it to be. And that's, I mean, honestly, I think they feel more comfortable in a high-scoring game. They think they can outscore pretty much anybody. And so, I don't know. It'll be great to see Lawrence hosting a Super Regional for the first time. I know those fans will be rocking, and that Kansas team will wants this to be playing today, really, probably. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
Well, see how we give our predictions. This time, we'll let you roll first.
Man, it's hard because Oklahoma, they're hot. I mean, Kansas kind of rolled through the regional. Oklahoma had to fight, but they got it done, which honestly sometimes I think makes it a little more, I mean, almost like better for them. They're a little hotter than Kansas in a say, you know. Over 3 games, and I think I'll take Kansas. I'm in between. I'm 50-50, but I think I'll go Kansas in 3. Oklahoma makes this an interesting series for sure. They have a chance to win it, I feel like.
I think you know who I'm taking in 3.
Yeah.
I'm taking Kansas in 3 as well. I love the group. I just think they're playing with fire. I mean, I feel like really when they got in their regional, I think they played with a little chip on their shoulder, being placed where they did hosting wise. You just kind of felt like they had a chip on their shoulder. Everyone thought Arkansas was going to walk out of that regional. Mm-hmm. It felt like, and they did their thing.
Yeah.
I love how their arms have been. You know, Dominic Vogel being one of their big arms in the rotation, and I think he's going to be a big piece in Game 1. And just, you know, but I love Tyson LeBlanc. I love his lineup. I mean, they've got some pop. Oklahoma's got some pop too as well. But
sure,
I think just being in Lawrence, being in Hoagland Stadium, everyone there coming off a big regional win, I think this team's gonna be fired up, and I think they're gonna carry on and keep moving and trucking through the Supers.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
All right, let's go to Game 3, or the next series of the Super Regionals. We'll have Georgia and Mississippi State, and this one was quite interesting to us. Mm-hmm. this is going to be a very interesting super. Mississippi State and Georgia, two teams that ran through their regional pretty handily. Now, Georgia, no Trey Phelps in game one, no Wes Johnson, I believe, for that I think it's 3 games. I mean, it's at least a game suspended, we know that. But no Wes Johnson, no Trey Phelps at least in game one for Georgia. You're at Foley Field. Trees will definitely be fed this weekend. Got some hitters in this super. You look at Georgia, bullpen's still rolling.
Wes Johnson is not any.
He doesn't? Okay, well, I was wrong then. Wes Johnson will be back. Game one. Interesting. I thought they had to take a suspension after being ejected.
Just Trey Phillips.
Okay. Well, just Trey Phelps is out. Anyways, but they're at Foley Field. Two teams who've got some pop in their bats. Mississippi State, I mean, what was it, 39 runs in their 3 games in the regionals. They were really good this weekend. Georgia hit well, and their big highlight, their bullpen's still doing their thing. Mm-hmm. They've got great arms out the bullpen, and they've just been trucking and rolling along throughout their season. I think I'm very interested. I'm looking at Georgia and the things. I'm very interested to see how Vigu and Volchek do in the rotation to start the games. Me and you kind of talked about it on and off, like how consistent can they be? Volchek was pretty good. Vigu got pulled after 1 1/3 innings, but the bullpen came in right behind him and did their job. I think that'll be very interesting to see. I think we're going to have a lot of hits. I mean, we know what Mississippi State's got in the rotation with Valenkis, McPherson, and Stone. I think they've got good arms in there as well in their bullpen. And then, again, we know their hitting ability. We know both these teams can hit. I think they'll make things very interesting with their bats. And it's really going to be an interesting regional. I mean, this could go either way for sure.
Yeah, I think so. I also think, though, that this series might be a little different than what people think. I think this might be a low-scoring affair than a high-scoring affair. We haven't seen Georgia's pitching show up in quite a while, and full on all 3 pitchers. Obviously, they're hoping they don't have to use all 3 pitchers, but we haven't seen all 3 pitchers show up in a series, and same kind of for Mississippi State. So, but I think they showed up this week. Both of these teams dominated their regionals, and they didn't allow that many runs. So, I just feel like both of these pitching staffs are kind of feeling good, like you said. I mean, Thomas Valenkis, McPherson, and then I want to say it's a question of what Georgia's starters do. I feel like to a degree.
I think to me it's only been Volchko. I'm really looking at. I think Kane Naoki they started on third.
Their bullpen can come in and
that's what I'm saying.
It's just what do their starters do? Because like you said, Mississippi State is a really good batting team. They batted amazing in their regionals. So,
but I think you can 100% flip it the other way too with Valenkis, Stone, and McPherson. How good can they be as well? I mean, we've seen Valenkis. I feel like towards the end of the year he kind of took a little bit of a down, fell down a little bit. I think it's just really interesting to see how the starters perform. I mean, we've seen their inconsistencies on Georgia's side. Volchko, Vigu. I mean, can Stone and Valenkis for Mississippi State and McPherson do their thing and really have a good outing is my big question.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and get our picks. You want me to start this one?
Sure.
I went to Georgia in 3. I think, again, it's going to be a very competitive series. Again, I think every game is going to be close. I think it'll be a dogfight in all 3. But I just think, for me, Georgia's pitching is still deeper in the bullpen. I think even if they get off to a little bit of a slow start with their starters, they've got an arm they can go to in the pen that can shut the game down. I think they can control it, and I think they can really manage it well. They've just been good all year, man. We know what their bats are going to do, and their bullpen is going to really be a big piece this weekend in their super regional.
I'll have to differ for you for the first time because I'm taking Mississippi State in 3. I think Georgia's pitching will let them down. I think Volchko and Vogel will let them down because Vogel has not been good in the last I don't even know, his last like 2, 3, 4 appearances have been terrible. So he's been pulled early. I know Aoki can come in and deal for him, but I think just you can't. I think it's hard if you're a team, you keep your starter doesn't go as long as you need to each time. Eventually, it's gonna put them in a deficit that they can't get out of. So I just think Mississippi State, with how hot their bats are, their pitching is good enough. We did see Georgia kind of struggle early in games against Liberty. You can't struggle early in games against Mississippi State, I feel. So if that happens again, and I feel like it will, I'm going Mississippi State. I think they upset them.
All right, there you go. All right, let's go to the next one. Auburn and Ole Miss, and this one I'm pretty excited and looking forward to. I think this is going to be a very interesting super.
Yeah.
Auburn hosting, and I'm excited to see the pitching duel. Each team with 3 great arms. I mean, they've got some guys in the bullpen as well they can go to. And this is just going to be so interesting. I don't know what to expect. I mean, like, we saw what Auburn's arms were like last week, and they struggled, aside from Hetzler and Petrovic. But then we saw Ole Miss's arms were pretty solid in their routing. However, we saw Auburn's bats get really hot. And Ole Miss, I mean, they hit, but nothing crazy, didn't score a lot. So I think this week is going to be so interesting in my eyes. I mean, I think we're going to have a bunch of great pitching, and I think this could very well be a low-scoring series. But again, both teams with great arms, and I think it should be very interesting on that end, or really on the mound, and what kind of duel we get there.
True, I think it will be a, well, I can't say it will be a pitcher's duel because obviously we saw Auburn struggle early in their regional with pitchers. Marciano, he wasn't as great as he has been, but who knows? I think we said it in our episode yesterday. I feel like it kind of helped Auburn. I think it might help Auburn that they had a tough time in their regional and their pitching wasn't good because it relied on their bats being hot. And I mean, hey, if your bats are hot and you're relying on that, you can see that, hey, we can hit, but that's one thing they could not do. They were having struggles. They were a little cold in the bats, and they woke them up because their pitching wasn't that great. I think their pitching says, hey, we'll get that back for this week. Because they still easily can. And I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like Alvarez and Marciano and Petrovic is just, Ole Miss has a good 3 in Elliott and Raby and Townsend, but I just feel like Auburn's is better, and I think Auburn's pitching will show up this week more than they showed up last week by a mile. And their bats are hot. I don't think you're stopping this Auburn team. I think it's just it all relies. But again, you could see Auburn not hit this well this week against an Ole Miss team who can also hit as well. So it could be. Do we see the same struggles as Auburn, or do they actually, figure it out?
For sure. All right, you started this time. You want to give us your pick?
I'm taking Auburn. I think I do think they bounced back. I think it was a good thing they struggled in their regional, honestly. Because if they had to run through that with their bats not being that hot, I think this would be a different outcome than what it will be.
Mm-hmm. You have in 2 or 3 games.
I'm going Auburn and. Well, you know what? I'm going to go Auburn in 2. I think they can get it done in 2. Even though if it goes to 3 and Petrovic starts.
Him and Hetzler have been their best arms. Yeah. They've been most consistent. I'm going to take Auburn as well. I'm going to take them in 3. I think Ole Miss finds a way to win one and Taylor Ray gets on the mound. But like you said, I think even if the pitching isn't as great, their bats were great this weekend. I mean, we said it was, me and you both said it was kind of a benefit them having the struggle and forcing them to hit the ball.
Yeah.
The thing with Ole Miss is I just haven't seen, we've seen at times throughout the season the big pop they can have in the bats. Mm-hmm. We just haven't seen it. I think Arizona State, they struggled. I mean, they're able to get a win, but I think there's a lot of chances to close that game out early. They had runners on bases, runners in scoring position, and we're not able to knock them in. Just think Auburn's bats have been better of late, and I think they're just going to have a slight edge in that department. But I think their pitching is just better too. They are just a better team, but again, I think it's going to be a very interesting series, and I'm interested to see how this all plays out.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to our next one. Help me out here real quick. North Carolina and USC. I was thinking, I don't know why I was thinking Texas for whatever reason. That's next though. North Carolina, USC. This one's going to be mighty interesting. USC, North Carolina, we know the arms they have. And we saw the bats get hot for both teams as well this weekend. I mean, North Carolina handled their regional really well, considering what got put in their regional. And USC went to Aggieland and took over.
Sure.
Had a big game, got great pitching as we knew they would, and they were able to win their game 7-1. We saw the bats they had, the pop they have in their bats. This is going to be a really interesting series. I think this is going to be a fun one. This is probably one of my top ones to watch, as weird as that sounds. I think it's just how interesting it's going to be is what makes it fun. I mean, we're looking at both these teams. I think USC has the better arms. But we know what North Carolina can do as well with their pitching. We got two teams who got experience. And I think this series could be very interesting. I mean, this I don't even know what to think about this one because I'm literally frozen on it. Because I mean, should North Carolina be the better team, being a 5 seed? Yes, but we saw what USC was able to do this weekend, and it kind of makes you think again, like, hey, these guys could do it. This could be an Omaha team.
Oh, easily. I think USC is I think arguably the hottest team with their bats right now with what they had to face, and they just right after their first game they ran through everybody. So I don't know. I think USC's really hot. UNC obviously they played really great in the regional. Only had a couple games where they maybe struggled through the first 5 innings, but after that, they just, I mean, it was pretty easy for them. Ryan Lynch is going to start tomorrow for UNC. Today, sorry, for UNC. I think USC though does have the better. I think they do have the better pitchers.
I think so too.
Just by a small margin. I think both teams can pitch really well, but especially with UNC having DeCaro, I think it's a close matchup. But does USC stay as hot with their bats as they were? Because if that's the case, then it'll be hard for any pitcher, not just UNC, but it would be hard. It would be hard for any team to stop.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. Like you said, they've been hot with their bats, and you lose your first game 5-4. We're like, okay, and then they put up 15 and then 19.
Yeah,
they got hot right after that. But it's your turn now. Go ahead and give us your prediction.
I'm gonna take a underdog here again. I'm going USC. I think their bats are hot, and I don't think any pitching staff can stop what they can do with their bats right now. And I think they have the better pitchers. I think UNC is really good. I think they will fight. And this will go through a 3-game series, I would believe. I just feel like USC has the better team overall. I never really thought that high of USC all year. But seeing what they did last week and knowing how good their pitchers are, it was just how good are the bats, and their bats are insanely good right now. And when you have a team that has really good bats and already good pitching, I think UNC will kind of be overloaded with how good USC said it can be.
Yeah. I'm taking USC. I'm going to take him in 3. I think we're going to go see in game 3. Again, I love they have the better pitching. I mean, we saw it this weekend, and like you said, they're just hot hitting.
Yeah.
You know, we know North Carolina can hit, but I just think USC got a slight edge. We saw them getting hot, and they were just the better team in that regional. I mean, even though you lose game one, but you have a nice bounce back and just keep fighting along. I mean, they're hot right now. I don't think North Carolina's pitching will be able to stop their bats as hot as they've been. So I'm going to take USC. I think it will go to 3 games, though.
Yeah.
But I think USC is able to take that one. But let's head to Texas and Oregon. Texas is hosting another interesting series we're going to see here. Two teams who've got great arms. Great arms, and we know these guys can hit. Really going to be an interesting matchup between these two. I mean, it's another one I'm a little like stuck on what to kind of expect. Like, am I going to see a low scoring game, or are we going to see bats and balls going over the fence? I mean, just are we going to see a bunch of hits? I mean, like the real question. I mean, what are we going to see this weekend?
True. I think it'll be interesting. We know that obviously Texas has a good rotation, starting rotation, and obviously Volantis, arguably the best pitcher in the nation, and then Harrison, Cozart, Rojas, anybody that those guys can start and pitch good. So it'll be, and then obviously Oregon, they were great this weekend as well. They kind of took care of business. Their pitching was really good, and I don't know. It's interesting. I almost feel like Oregon's bats weren't great this weekend, and we saw that. Obviously, they were playing Oregon State, who had great pitching, but they just weren't. They weren't insanely good. And against a Texas squad that has a great starting rotation and great bullpen, when they are on, they are hard to hit. I think it'll be tough for them to, if their hitting does stay the same, it'll be tough for them to win the series the same way that they won their regional. I think Oregon will have to find a way to get their bats hotter. Their pitching, if it's good, we've seen Texas struggle. They struggled against Arkansas in the SEC tournament when just a good pitcher came in and dealt, and they just couldn't hit. So we've seen them struggle with their bats. It could be very well a low-scoring affair in this series if Texas's pitching is on and Oregon's pitching is on. So it'll be interesting to say the least. I think it's hard. Both of these teams are, in their own right, have been up and down this season. So I guess I'll let you go first this time and pick who you think will win.
I'm going to take Texas in 2. I think their arms are just better. I think they are better on the mound, even though we have seen Oregon be better with their arms. I just think they are a better hitting team. I think they're just better in the hitting department. We've seen what Oregon can do with their bats, but I'm just a big believer in this Texas team. I mean, I know you've had the conversation of what can they be, what can they do, but I'm just a big believer in that group. When they've got talent in the lineup, I mean, Aiden Robbins and Anthony Pack Jr. and everybody can hit in that lineup. Obviously we saw what they're struggled with their bats, but they're a good hitting team, and I think their arms. I think it'll be interesting. I think it'll be really a pitching duel. I think mainly between these two, and I think Texas is going to win that pitching duel with their arms.
Yeah, I think. Oregon's been great. Scolari, Sanford, Gustalo they've been good, but Texas's starting pitchers are just they're I think they are better. And also I think Oregon has to find a way to get their bats going, and they just haven't been able to do that, and it's been a struggle for them. So I feel like Texas will take this. Now, could I easily see Oregon potentially going, just somehow getting their bats hot and finding a way? Definitely. That's what all these teams in the super regionals are good enough to do that. But I'm going to go Texas in 3. I think Oregon finds a way. Maybe Scolari pitches really good, or they get a game 1 or a game 2, something, just by a margin, by a slim margin. But I think Texas's pitching just kind of outduels them.
Yeah, I mean, It's going to be a fun regional. Another one, I'm really interested to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun one. Let's go to the next one. Alabama and St. John's. We saw Alabama's rotation. We saw how good they were this weekend. And then St. John just, I think fair to say, kind of ran through that regional. I won't say ran through, but they, I wouldn't say it was easy to do, but they were great this weekend. Let's just put it that way. They were great this weekend. They pitched amazing. They got on base. I mean, this is going to be a very fun team. I think it's going to be an interesting regional. It'll be really fun to watch. Well, on Alabama's end, their three arms were great this weekend. As me and you kind of said, their three arms have to be good.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be good if they want to win the regional and to win a super. I mean, everything they do kind of depends on their three arms. It really does.
Yeah.
I mean, Tyler Fay, Zane Adams, Miles Upchurch. Three arms that they have to rely, I would say, pretty heavily on.
Mm-hmm.
But we know their firepower with the bat, so we know what they can do. But you look at St. John's end, we saw how good their pitching was this weekend. And most importantly, we just saw what they did when they got on base. This team gets on base, they produce runs. It's just they play small ball.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they play.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a really interesting matchup, though. I'm interested to see how this fares out. And once again, I'm gonna say the same thing as last time. The Alabama starters, does the rotation show up?
Yeah.
I mean, that's as simple as I think I need to put it.
Yeah, I think St. John's pitched great this last weekend. Liam O'Leary was great for them in the regional. And then obviously they got Jack Nessler, Thomas Harding, and Victor Frederick. And we know who Alabama has in Tyler Fay, Zane Adams, and Miles Upchurch. And I think this will be reliant for if St. John's wants to win this series and provide a massive upset, their pitching has to be really good, but I think they also have to be able to. They almost have to rely on Alabama's pitching not being great. Alabama's a better team by far. They are. That doesn't mean that they can't lose this series for sure, but they are the better team by far. They have the better guys. They have the bats to be able to out-hit St. John's. St. John's plays some small ball, but Alabama can hit the long ball. They can get hot in their own right. And so Alabama isn't really afraid of a deficit if that does happen. St. John's, we saw, wasn't either against FSU, but it's going to be, like you said, relying on Alabama's starting pitchers. Is Tyler Fay the Tyler Fay we've seen, the great Tyler Fay that we've seen, or is he kind of still a little lackluster maybe in the first game, or does Zane Adams come out and show out? It's going to be interesting to see. I think St. John's can definitely make this close series, and they could potentially win it if their pitching is insanely good. And if they're just playing small ball after small ball after small ball, then who says they can't come out and go to Omaha? Mm-hmm. But it's hard to pick. I'll go ahead and pick my winner. I think Alabama is the clear favorite, of most people who's going to pick the Super Regional. I think there's going to be a little bit of surprise. I think St. John's wins at least a game. I think it goes to 3 games. But I do think Alabama, and I don't think their pitching gets it done for them. I think their bats get it done. And they still find a way just to get to Omaha. Maybe by the skin of their teeth, but just they find a way to get in. I think the St. John's team is pesky. They will stick around, especially with how they play this small ball.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm on the same boat. I'm going to take them in 3 as well. I think St. John's gets a game in there. And I think, again, it's going to be sneaky. I mean, we talk about Alabama's arms, and we saw what St. John's arms did this weekend as well. We saw what they were able to do. I mean, they can hit the ball, they get on base, they can score. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a very interesting series. But I am going to take Alabama. Look, I'm a big believer in their 3 starters. I mean, again, Tyler Fay, Zane Adams, Miles Upchurch. I mean, it sits on those guys. If their arms are there, then they are one of the best teams in the country when those 3 arms are on. So I'm going to take Alabama in 3, but I think St. John's is going to be a little pesky, like you said. And I think they're going to make things very interesting.
Sure.
But now we'll head to our final Super Regional, our favorite super regional that I know we'll be watching, Troy and Little Rock. Very excited for this one. I really am. I mean, just knowing that one of these teams is going to make it to Omaha
Yeah.
for, I believe, what, first time ever for both these teams? Or
I don't know. I'll look it up.
either way, Troy's hosting a regional, and my goodness, are we excited for this one? I mean, two teams coming off big regional wins. If both first look for the first round Omaha for both teams, yeah. So, I mean, you look at Little Rock; they kind of just strolled. The word just kind of strolled through their regional. I mean, they played good baseball. Troy losing their first game, but then just battling their way all the way through. I mean, I think we're in for a treat this regional. I mean, we saw what both teams were able to do. Troy, we know the pops they have in their bat and their lineup. And Little Rock, we saw what they were able to do. They were able to put runs up on the board. They can pitch. I mean, both these teams have got great talent on both ends between their lineup and their rotations. It's going to be a really fun super regional to watch.
Yeah, I think it's interesting just because to see these two smaller teams who've never made a super regional before and see a small team like Troy host, and it'll be insane. I obviously saw earlier that they had to add some bleachers. That stadium will be packed. It will be rocking, knowing just that these people at Troy have never seen this. I mean, this has never happened for them. So it'll be interesting to see. But also, just going to the game, Troy was hot. Jimmy Janicki was insanely good. He is insanely good. We'll be seeing him in MLB jersey eventually. Boroff was
And
just
and Markham, both of them at the 8-9
Yeah.
slot. Those two are great.
those two were insanely good. So if if they're as hot as they were, it's gonna be hard to stop this team from scoring. You saw a great pitching staff in Florida have a hard time doing that, and Little Rock will have an even harder time at that. The only problem for Troy that I see is their pitching can be good. Zach Crossfeld is really good out of the bullpen for them, but the problem is that none of their starters for Troy are under a 5 ERA. So it's interesting to see if they can get the pitching to show up for them. If it does, we saw that obviously it held the Florida team to low runs when they needed to. So it could definitely be good. But this Little Rock team entered the NCAA tournament ranked third nationally in offensive strikeout rate. So they put the ball in play. They're forcing defenses to make plays. And this Little Rock team can hit. We saw they kind of strolled through their regional, and
They
why not? Like,
they just, like you said, we said in our last video, if you haven't seen that, go check it out. No mistakes were made by who they played against. They just did the things right. I mean, they
Yeah.
put the ball in play. I mean, that's what they're, like you said, that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
They're going to get the ball in play. You got to play defense. If you don't, they're going to make you pay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm on the same page with you there.
Yeah, I think Brandon Westmoreland for Little Rock, their pitcher is just he's good. He's really good. He's also huge. But he's been great. I think it could definitely the teams could rely on who's got the better starting pitching. Just out the bat. I think the first game will determine how this series is going to be. Is it going to be a hitting fest because we know Little Rock can get on bases, but Little Rock's really good at not letting other people get on base. So will this turn into a pitcher's duel? Sort of. Maybe this, kind of leans toward Little Rock in more of a pitcher's way, or does it turn into Troy's way and they want to go hit and they want to get runs and they want to score a bunch and this becomes a high scoring affair? I mean, it'll be obviously we'll be watching it. It'll be really, really fun to watch.
I'm very pumped. My turn now, your turn to start our picks. All right. We'll start with our picks. Oh boy. This one's kind of tough. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to take Little Rock in 3, man. I'm going to take Little Rock. I really want to take Troy, but I'm going to go with Little Rock. obviously saw what they did last year against LSU. But this year, just their ability to get the ball in play. I mean, that's a big thing for me. I mean, they're gonna force you to make plays. And just what they do, they don't hit a lot of bombs. We saw just singles and doubles and just getting runners moving around the base path. I mean, and their arms. I mean, they pitched well this weekend. Obviously, talk about Westmoreland and what they have there in their bullpen and their arms, but their ability to watch them put the ball in play this week in the way they did. I mean, it worked out well for them, and I think it's going to work out well again in the Super Regional.
Man, it's really hard because I watched Troy.
I watched it too.
And they looked really good. Their hitting was amazing. I do worry about their pitching because Little Rock can hit, like we're saying. I mean, Nolan Fruit averaged 330, Blake Simpson 354. They have a great DH spot as well, and Bombach, who hits 337. So they can offensively, maybe not in the way of hitting bombs like Troy did in the regional, but they can offensively match Troy in the way that they can get on base and just slowly score runs. And if you look over the scoreboard thinking, oh, well, they've just got a few guys on base, and they're already, had 5-6 runs, and they're just slowly piling up these scores. So it'll be really interesting, man. I think Little Rock's pitching is a little better. I do like Little Rock. I picked them to win their regional, and they obviously ran through that one. I think they can win a super, but Troy's offensive power, I would love to see it in Omaha because I think they can beat pretty much anybody if they can hit at the rate that they hit against Florida. And a great pitching staff in Florida that they hit off of them. Also playing in Troy for the first time. I think this first game will determine a lot, But I think Troy wins the first game, maybe even a little easier than people think, just because of where they are. And I think Skylar Meade will get his team ready. But I think it will go 3 games. I think Little Rock can win the second one. But, man, it's so hard to pick. Because I'm torn. I want to see Troy win because they beat Florida. But Little Rock also looks really good. And I'd love to see them in Omaha. I would love to see either team in. But I'm going to go... Whatever. I just know whatever team I pick's probably going to let me down. I'm going to go Troy. I just think their hitting can get it done. I think they stay hot. I don't know how you stop a team that's hot. That, is that hot. Jimmy Janicki is just... I mean, I don't even know how you pitch that man. So, I'm going Troy.
There you go, man. Well, I think we had a pretty good time this episode making our picks and predictions, and hope you guys enjoyed listening to us talk about it.
Yeah.
If you want more of us talking just about all sports in general, go follow us at Across the Board and all our socials, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, all those good things. And that's going to do it for us today. You got anything you want to say before we go?
Just go watch some baseball.
That's right. All right. You have a great day. Go watch some college baseball, and
we'll see you next time.